The mountains hit, past the infinite. Basically, we are way above this shit. In other words, get in tune with spirit. Take a breath and accept mental polarity, gender rhythm, correspondence, vibration, cause and effect. More lives matter. Black lives don't matter. 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 More lives matter. Thinking on sound off. It gets affected when protected. You can ask off. If my perspective one day I keep to replay. All the news that one replay. So they want to catch all. But we move on to the next one. Enough of them are running out. And you them a cat drop. Y'all believe a copy that. Y'all believe a car drop. Trayvon, Michael Brown, Dapper, the spine call. The afterlife, visited the class wrong. Who they really want to see with the crown on high and the guards on three? I am free and enough is this what your land or your country to see free and liberal rights. The insatiable delight of knowing thyself and bringing all injustice to light. What the fight is your plight, make your sight for the bright. I'm the mic in the night. More time for you to realize that. More lives matter. Black lives don't matter. 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 No.
Right, peace and love to everybody listening right now. You are tuned in to MHHS Eyes Wide Open Sons of Allah for October 2018 Gregorian calendar year. I am your host, Ms. Raheem Aleph L, along with my co-host, which is an honor to be. I'm glad we're here on the check-in, Cujo Adbo L.
Islam.
Canaanland Moors. Peace and love.
Peace, Moor. Islam to all the Moors. Peace and love.
Yo. Indeed. Islam to all the Moors. Peace and love. And all of the greatness and harmonies of life. I just, before we go in, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge, where we're at on the celestial vibration, because it is definitely the harvest season. And, it's a beautiful thing to, be able to reap the fruits of your labor or the veggies of your labor, however you say it. But nonetheless, the fact that whether you have an abundant harvest or whatever harvest you have, the fact that you may be able to share something with someone else is always a beautiful thing, even if you don't have as much as your neighbor does. The fact that you have something is a reason to give thanks, hence why they have the Thanksgiving season in these times and all of this coming up. But we know, being Moors who studied the lessons of Noble Drew Ali, I'm not saying we're perfect and we didn't make errors in life, but these are the things that help us, be in propria persona, not just in the courtroom, like throughout life. And we learn through our experiences, our mistakes, our blitzes, our patience, etc. But we learn through these lessons that the only one that's worthy of thanksgiving or giving thanks is the supreme being we call Allah, God. Some people call him Parabrahm or her Parabrahm, etc. But this is what we're thankful for, because this is where the process of creation comes in. And just on the note of where we at on the seasons, I just want to say this too. The full moon coming up on the 24th, more is is what's called the Hunter's Moon, and this full moon is actually in Taurus. So all of this correlates to, I know we're not quote unquote supposed to eat fruit, especially if you didn't hit it with your own bow. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, it's the Hunter's Moon coming up in Taurus, full moon in Taurus. So shout out to all the Tauruses. And, you know, myself and Cool Joe as well, being sun sign Taurus, we know what that moon energy does. And, you know, we build beyond the stars, so you can't really do nothing to try to work no magic on us because it's the hunter's moon in Taurus. So don't get hit or be on the wrong side of the bow. I'm saying that to say that in this harvest season, you know, once again, be thankful for what you have, what you reap. If you didn't reap anything, hopefully you have brothers and sisters who will teach you how to do that, or be willing to offer up or make offerings on their tables for you to, you know, enjoy the harvest season with them. For those who were around and things got thick and they split when it was time to reap the harvest because they couldn't see what was going on, you don't even need them type of people around you. Just keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing. It's about putting in the work, you know, and when I say work, I don't necessarily mean punching a clock, you know, because it's cycles that really manifest time, or cycles of time, or the clocks of destiny. And this is where we're at. And it doesn't matter what you're going through, how stressful it looks. Just remember, the prophecy is real. You know, no matter how it looks, it's going to end up in the hands of the Asiatic. That is a fact. Because this is what Noble Drew Ali said from the door. You know what I mean? The keys of civilizations were and are in the hands of the Moorish peoples. So, meaning that you're the key master. You know what I mean? You have the keys, and the world, the economy or ecosystem. Because you know, when we speak about economy, people automatically think Federal Reserve notes. That's a linear aspect of the economy, because the most valuable, or one of the most valuable resources, is natural energy of the true and living beings. You know, that would be us. So that case, you know, your natural energy, your resources, all of these things are what is most valuable. So love your brother, your sister. Nobody's perfect, but we are here to endeavor to perfect. So I'm glad to be back again on this blog because I have a genuine, hold up, my fault. I have a genuine love for teaching, learning, and listening to Peace. Moore, you there?
Yeah, Moore, I'm here.
Oh, okay. I don't know what happened. They just styled on me in the studio. I'm glad I opened you up because I can't see. Okay, I'm good. I see everybody on the call. That's peace. Yeah, pardon me. That made me lose my thought because it just blacked out the whole screen for the call. But again, I'm just saying for starters, I'm able to be here and that you was able to make, because we was going back and forth and didn't really think we wouldn't be doing it, but we was able to make this happen today as a duo as we do. So I say that to say, bro, I'm honored and I'm thankful to be here on this line with you. MHHS Eyes Wide Open Talk Radio. We definitely gonna get into some jewels tonight. I want to read from something, but before I do that, would you like to open us up with any preliminary statements, bro?
There's a lot more. Yeah, everything's peace. Just you know, Islam to all the Moors, and like you said, it's an honor to be here, to be able to learn from others and be able to build with others. So give thanks to MHHS and RV Bay Publications for allowing us to have a platform that we could, you know, do what we could do for the sons of Allah.
Absolutely. So being as though we're here, what we call October, we know the mathematics that octo really means 8. So based off of, you know, our natural calendar year, marking the sessions of the sun or the stations of the sun, as well as the moon. We don't forget the moon, but we know that the solar calendar is what the Gregorian calendar is a derivative of, as well as with the Sophic. And October means 8. This is not really the 10th month based off the stations of the sun and the cycles of the sun. But nonetheless, it is harvest season. And I wanted to, on that note, read something from Khalil Gibran's book called The Prophet. And it's a chapter in there called, he does a piece, or I don't know, and it's the beautiful scripts, but it's on work. That's what the section or the chapter is called. It's on work. And I was reading this with my mother and some other Moors as well, maybe about a week ago, sometime last week, not too long ago. And, you know, this revelation kind of stuck with me. And I just wanted to share it, and I trust that I could relay this message in the spirit that I received it in and that it was actually written in, because this is the harvest season. So let's talk about work a little bit, specifically for all the sons and, you know, as well as the sisters as well. But one thing I find when I'm out in society, specifically lately, you know, people have jobs or jobs that they really don't want to have, bro. I noticed this, and they have no problem expressing that. They be like, you come in and the attitude is kind of funky, or they're like, man, I can't wait to get off work. And then I be like, man, well, you know, just be thankful because you do have something to do, and trust me, there's other people who would love your job. I'm not suggesting that people, you know, if you have a talent and skill that you love and it's sustaining you, do your thing. Do that. Do that. Don't let anything get in the way of your vision. But know that it doesn't make you less of a being if you, you know, do punch a clock at the time being to get to do what you have to do and to get to where you want to be in life. We know that we can say those are aspects of slavery. You know, you don't have time to yourself. You got to ask for permission. But that's why you have to find your skill, your craft, and what you have to offer to the world, and then focusing on that. And nobody tell you you're too small to do it. You know what I mean? Because you can do that. So with that being said, I want to speak on this harvest season and you know, for this hunter's moon coming up on the 24th. I just deemed it proper to read this particular piece on work. Again, this is from Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet. And it says, then a plowman said, speak to us of work. And he answered, saying, you work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. Right? That's a deep statement in itself. So you're saying that the earth has a soul, right? This is me interjecting right now. He's saying that the earth has a soul. That's something else for on the metaphysical level for you to study. Electromagnetic fields, you know, the birds travel via these electromagnetic fields, etc. But I'm going to refrain from my opinion and just read this. Okay? So it says, you work that you may keep pace with the earth and the soul of the earth. For to be idle is to become a stranger unto the seasons, and to step out of life's procession that marches in majesty and proud submission towards the infinite. And remind yourselves, no finite mind can comprehend things infinite. That's the lesson of Noble Drew Ali. I refrain and resume reading again back from Khalil Gibran's book on work. It goes on to say, when you, emphasis, when you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. And I suggest anybody who's on to their astrology, this is me interjecting, pardon the interjection. Shout out to Brother Supreme. Okay. Yeah. But indeed, when it says when you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. I suggest you look up music of the spheres, like circles, spheres. Look up music of the spheres on your own time to show you how deep that statement is. because we're talking about time. We're talking about hours. When you talk about horoscopes, you're talking about hour scopes or hourly views. In time, it never was a time when man was not. But I refrain and resume reading from Khalil Gibran's book on work. It says, okay, so when you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. Which of you would be a reed, dumb and silent, when all else sings together in unison? Question. Always you have been told that work is a curse and labor a misfortune. But I say to you that when you work, you fulfill a part of Earth's furthest dream assigned to you when that dream was born. And in keeping yourself with labor, you are in truth loving life. And to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's inmost secret. Now, I refrain right here from reading this, and I'm going to interject something. Because it says, and to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's inmost secrets, because remind you, work isn't just punching a clock at a joule. Work is deeper than that. So, you know, you could be working the earth or your garden or your plant farm or whatever it is. All of that is work. It's work. I resume reading again from Khalil Gibran's book, The Prophet on Work. It says, so, and to love life through labor is to be intimate with life's inmost secret. But if you, in your pain, in affliction, and in the support of the flesh, a curse written upon your brow, then I answer that naught but the sweat of your brow shall wash away that which is written. You have been told also that life is darkness, and in your weariness you echo what was said by the weary. And I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge. And all urge is blind, save when there is knowledge. And all knowledge is vain, save when there is work. And all work is empty, save when there is love. There goes that first principle Noble Drive he was talking about. Because if you don't love the work that you do, you will be that's misery. That's living in misery. So find what it is that you like to do, whatever that may be, whatever your artistic or scientific aspects of your mind allows you to provide to the public or to benefit people, period. And if you have a love for that, it was funny, I was riding with some Moors today, and the sister said, you know, somebody hit the lottery for $1 million. I said, yeah, they probably quit their job right after that. And she was like, nah, if they really love what they did, they wouldn't quit. They'd just be adding on. I said, that's so true. That's a very unique way of looking at it, because that's the truth. If you're doing what you love, it doesn't matter how much finance you get, you know, whether that be in the negative or in the positive. In the plus or the minus, you're going to do what you're going to do because you love to do it. However, if you don't love the work that you're doing, you will abandon it as soon as you see what you perceive to be an opportunity out. So, again, it says, and I'm going to bring this back, and it says, and I say that life is indeed darkness, save when there is urge. All urge is blind, save when there is knowledge. And all knowledge is vain, save when there is work. So all knowledge is vain except for when there is work, meaning you have to work the knowledge you know. That's what makes it valuable. Other than that, it's vanity. You can know a whole bunch of things, but if you're not putting in the work to uplift yourself or be what you know, then it's vanity, right? And all work is empty, save when there is love. And when you work with love, you bind yourself to yourself and to one another and to God. To me, that just reminded me of Prophet Noble Ali's work, chapter 25, the Holy Covenant, because it says, and when you work with love, you bind yourself to yourself and to one another and to God. And in chapter 25, it speaks about let the bonds of affection unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and harmony may dwell in thy father's house. and it's not exclusive of the sisters. We already know that that's a holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, not of the Asiatic males, not of the Asiatic females, of Asiatic nation, meaning it goes for all of us. You know what I'm saying? And then it goes on to say, and what is it to work with love? That's a question. It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection. Again, let the bonds of affection unite thee with thy brothers. So it is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat that fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with the breath of your own spirit, and to know that all the blessed dead are standing about you and watching. Right? Often have I heard you say, as if speaking in sleep, he who works in marble and finds the shape of his own soul in the stone is nobler than he who plows the soil. We say that again. Often have I heard you say, as if speaking in sleep, he who works in marble and finds the shape of his own soul in the stone is nobler than he who plows the soil. And he who seizes the rainbow to lay it on the cloth in the likeness of man is more than he who makes the spindles for our feet. And I say not in sleep, but in the over wakefulness of noontide, the wind speaks not more sweetly to the giant oaks than to the least of all the blades of grass. And he alone is great who turns the voice of the wind into a song made sweeter by his own loving. Work is love made visible. And if you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy. For if you bake bread with indifference, you bake a bitter bread that feeds but half man's hunger. And if you grudge the crushing of the grapes, your grudge distills a poison in the wine. And if you sing though as angels and love not the singing, you muffle man's ears to the voices of the day and the voices of the night. And that is Khalil Gibran, Peace on Work. So I suggest you read that for yourself as well. But that's what I wanted to speak of, starting, off on this harvest moon. I do believe this is our first Sons of Allah for the fall season. If I'm not mistaken, no. No. This is our second. We did one right after Raleigh. But nonetheless, I felt that was in season because I was reading something. I forgot what it was. It says, wisdom out of season is wasted knowledge. So this is wisdom I felt was in season. That's what I wanted to share to start off the class. I would say, because it's funny, like life is a cycle. You know what I mean? And I'm getting this lesson right now in life. Life is a cycle. So I found myself back in a place where, I had my youthful experiences, and in that youthful experience, I won't name any names, but we know the peer pressures of being a teenager, and there's always that one in the group of your peers who may have been, gassed up by certain movies, and they wanted the fortune and the fame and the fast cash and all of this. And you might have had a job early at 15, 16 when you got what they call quote unquote working papers. I remember being young. My first job at 15 or 16, I worked at Burger King. That was my first job, and it was those who thought it wasn't cool for me to be punching the clock because I didn't have time to be on the block with them no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in high school now. You know, I want my own sneakers. I want my own pants and fly clothes and all of these things. So, you know, I had to work for it. You know what I'm saying? And they'd be like, yo, you gonna quit your job? You know, let's flip these packs, this, that, and the third. And they're like, yo, you still working at Burger King? This was when I was, you know, teenage years. I'm like, yeah. And the old heads used to always encourage that. They was like, that's right. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you do something productive. You don't got to be out here on this block selling no crack, no coke, no none of that to be considered cool. You know what I mean? Because these niggas is actually broke. You know what I'm saying? That's what they would talk to me like. Not that I was better than, but, you know, I'm speaking to the youth, the young sons of Allah coming up. You know what I'm saying? Or anybody who could impart that wisdom to any youth they know. Yeah, the ultimate goal is to not work for anybody, but don't let anybody discourage you from getting the experience to where that you need for where you want to ultimately go in life. You know, it doesn't make you any less cool if you do work a job. The females will love you more or like you more, let me say that. I'm speaking to the sons, excuse me, in that age range, because, you know, what they see in these movies and the fact, because I look back on it now and I'm like, damn, yeah, we was heavily influenced by the things that we seen. But, you know, don't let nobody make you feel like you out of place because you're doing something else productive besides standing on the cold ass block all day trying to do whatever it is you think you're doing. You know what I mean? So that's why I felt it imperative to read that on work. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. You cool if you gotta do what you gotta do to get your FRNs. I'm not saying life is all about that. Again, this is more tailored to the youth. So, you know, but do what you gotta do. Don't let nobody deprive you of no experiences. Don't let any of your so-called peers make you feel like you less than because they might want to do, you know, just things that ain't gonna take you that far in life. You know what I'm saying? The experience is great. You know, you see how that is, but nonetheless, you want to have experiences on record. So I say that to say that, you know what I mean? Be yourself. You know, follow the dictates of your soul. If you gotta do what you gotta do to get that couple $100 check every 2 weeks, because that's all you got, don't until you can do something better, or until you discover what's innermost in you that you can pull out to project to society and get your own thing going. Don't feel like less of a man or woman for having to do that until you can be where you want. And with that, for right now, that's my concise opening message, and I respectfully yield the floor for right now, Moor.
Islam. Just to go back on the concept of work. It's also a good time, being that we were talking about the harvest moon, to also recognize that some of the work includes the spirit work, because of October being a highly spiritual month of the year, which is why they got Halloween and all that stuff going on in this time.
Absolutely.
So know that from the esoteric occult perspective, October is the time where the veil between the spiritual and the physical is most thin. So the work that you put in from the spiritual perspective has greater chance of manifestation during the time of what they would say the haunting season, or the Halloween, or the energies being more alive. You know, the presence of the spirit world being more obvious, the unseen being more seen. You know, the world of what we see and the world of imagination working in harmony to make sure that certain things manifest. You know, people who have their altars and things like that. You know, everybody who's on that should get some honors for October. Everybody should get their own candle lit for them. You know, their own incense burnt for them. Because it's the time of the veil being thin. You know, taking advantage of we were talking about the energies or the ways that our people learn. And when we were traveling back from Montreal, we were taking in the autumn scenery. And we were thinking about the energies that all the different colors must be stimulating in people who are in tune with nature. The people who are the astrologists and the people who are, you know, on a higher mind frame, the autumn colors. What are those colors doing to them to heighten their senses? You know, even though when we look at it, you know, it's harvesting, it's the downtime, it's you know, the packing up and putting away of things, the hibernation. You know, but it's still something that you have to prep for, which is work. So knowing that, you know, the dimension that we live in and the spirit world are pretty much in overlapping, that you have probably even realized that for October, there's been a lot of spiritual happenings. There's been a lot of revelations, like self revelations in October. You know, I mean, things that are magnified because you see the simplicity, you see the beauty in the simplicity, and you realize how deep it was, or how deep the situation was, or how deep the meeting was, or whatever it is. You know, like we sense a presence, and it's not imagination or the weed or whatever. You know what I mean? Spirit activity is at all-time high right now. Spirit activity is at an all-time high. Energies are fluctuating on some different levels. You know, you could even see it in people. You know, you see somebody who their vibe was something you can't deal with. October, all of a sudden they're changed. You could deal with them because you have no choice. Once the spirit starts to seep into the physical, you have no choice but to deal with the spirit at that point, no matter how much you've been avoiding it. When that 8th month comes around, which again, 8 is infinity, so this is a perpetual cycle that you're going to be going through. You know, the cycle of the veil being thin at a time for you to be able to push your hand in the veil and pull out whatever it is that you got to pull out before that thing closes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is where they get their energy to do their whatever for the quote unquote winter holidays, because they know that's a dead season. So they fill October with rituals, balls starting and all this other stuff, so that they can get the energy, they can gain the momentum to propel them through to the spring.
Yeah.
And then at that point, they don't have to feed off the people anymore, because then, you know, sun's back.
Exactly.
You know. So that and also too, when you look at different cultures, you know, different cultures would have different spiritual representation for October. You know, like for example, in Hindu cultures, they have this being a time of spiritual morals and checking yourself, because based on the laws of spiritual manifestation, you know, which is intentions and being humanitarian and things like that, you're really cleansing yourself. You're really purifying yourself. You're converting, or using this time to convert negative energy into positive energy. You know, all obstacles have a reward at the end of the obstacle. It's not just, you know, like with blacks or whatever, the struggle continues forever and then the struggle never ends. You know, correcting your wrongs, making sure that right things are being done. Because again, the veil is thin. So if you do evil, the veil is sin. Or if you do good, the veil is sin. You know? And again, all of it is our info. All of it is our sciences, our things that we've neglected to deal with, that now they're slapping us in the face. You know, these things, astrology and spirituality or whatever, are now adversaries of ourself, which is not a good position to be in, because you're gonna lose every time. You're not gonna win going against the spirit world. You're not gonna win thinking that the fight is outside yourself. You know, not recognizing that not only are you correcting on this realm, but you're also connected in the spiritual realm. Because karma's spiritual too. Cause and effect isn't just some physical whatever. All is mental, and a law of gender and law of universal laws aren't just some stuff that's physical. There's a spiritual reflection to everything. Again, which why Juali told the Moors, everything I say is spirit. So look at it from all angles. Just look at it from what's on the paper. You know, don't just look at it like, oh, well, because I'm a Moor, I don't have to work. Well, there's lots of work for Moors to do, what Noble Juali said. So what do you mean you don't have to work because you're a Moor? There must be something to do. There's no way there's no work to do, right, that somebody could be a Moor and say they'll sit on their ass or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're Moors, so we could just put our feet up.
You better be using this technology to get the message to the people or something. Well, I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but yeah.
No, I was just gonna tell you. No, I was just gonna tell you, say that again, because you tripped out a bit.
Oh, okay. No, know, I say, even if you are sitting on your ass, you better be doing some work while you're sitting on your ass in this age.
Right.
Because there's technology, you can put videos, you can do rich, you can do all types of things.
Yeah.
It ain't no just, let me just the couch and watch TV. That shit is dead. It's dead. That's non-productive. I mean, that's all I wanted to say. Even if you feel like you chilling, find something you love to do while you chilling, and that's still work. But if you're doing nothing, that's idleness. And if I'm thinking, real quick, while we're talking about work, correct me if I'm wrong, but Noble Dry Lee did say there is work enough for all to do in uplifting fallen humanity. So facts, you know what I mean? Anybody can find a way to get busy, specifically in these times with the technology wave. There's no way you can't be doing no work. Like, no. That's insanity in these times. So now, before I didn't want to cut your wisdom, please continue, Moor.
You're straight, Moor. It's all good. And also, the spiritual meaning of work. And this is Sophia Perennis, Perennis. The modern cult of work is founded on the one hand on the fact that work is a necessity for the majority of men, and on the other hand on humanity's tendency to make a virtue of an unavoidable constraint. There have always and everywhere been contemplative saints who, without thereby being lazy, have not worked, and all the traditional worlds afford or did not afford the sight of beggars to whom alms are given without anything being asked for them, except perhaps prayers. No Hindu would dream of blaming a Ramakrishna or a Rama Maharishi for the fact that he did not engage in any profession. It is generalized impiety, the suppression of the sacred in public life, and the constraints of industrialism that have had the effect of making work a categorical imperative outside which it is believed there is only culpable laziness and corruption. But that as it may, be that as it may, there is work and then there is work. There has always been noble agriculture as well as crafts plied at home or in the workshops of the former guilds. And then since the 19th century, there has been industrial servitude in factories, a servitude all the more brutalizing, if not degrading, in that its object is the machine, and the most of time it offers no proper human satisfaction to the workman. Nevertheless, even this work, in general more quantitative than qualitative, can subjectively have a sacred or sanctifying character thanks to spiritual attitudes of the worker. If knowing that he cannot change the world and that he must earn a living for himself and his family, he strives, according to the possibilities available to him, to combine his work with consciousness of our final ends and the remembrance of God. This having been said, it should be added that freedom consists much more in satisfaction with one particular situation than in total absence of constraints. In absence, scarcely realizable in the here below, and which moreover is not always a guarantee of happiness. So the illusions, for example, of freedom, and people looking at freedom as something you're just going to get just because you did nothing, is a farce.
Wow.
Because you can't have, there's no such thing as freedom due to absence of constraints. Because overcoming the constraint is what creates the freedom. You know, there has to be the thing to overcome in order to be free.
Yo, say that again, Moor, because I don't want to cut your wisdom.
Go ahead, Moor. It's all good.
I know specifically speak to the youth out there, right? They, you know, a lot of people think they're free, but they're not. And when you're young or even old and just have a state of mind of a minority, and Moors know what I mean by minority, you know, a minor in the mind. When we speak about being free or freedom, a lot of these people strictly equate that with not paying anything, which, you know, I don't knock that because, again, going back to work, I got to give thanks real quick for the Moors who do work in society. You know, I've been in spots where they ask me for ID, and I pull out my Moorish allodial, my American allodial national identification card, and they like, oh, you a Moor? You know, such and such and such and such, and I'm like, yeah, those are my people. You know, RV Bay Publications, that's my bloodline family, and they won't let you pay for anything. It ain't because it's some freedom thing. You know what I'm saying? It is, but they're like, yo, because of the work that you all have put in, when you come here, you pay nothing. That's just it.
Yeah.
Like, just tip whoever serves you.
Right.
So salute to the Moors who are in society and recognize, you know what I'm saying, who we are. Because they're like, oh, yeah, not only do we acknowledge this identification card, but you're not even paying anything on my watch. Period. Everything is free. And you ain't looking to be a freeloader. They just move like that.
That's just how they
based
move.
off of the work you put in.
Yep.
That's how they move. And it's because, oh, you got a nationality card. They acknowledge it, but at the same time, they like, we know what type of work y'all put in for our people and humanity. And we salute that, and everything is taken off your check. You know what I'm saying? Just make sure you take care of the server. So, you know, salute to those Moors in society. But yeah, I wanted you to re-emphasize that because sometimes people equate free with being 0.00 in the dollar sign before that and have no clue about freedom, like what it really entails, like in the sense of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So when we're dealing with those 5 principles and, you know, that's going on, you got to understand the fruits of your work or the fruits of what they call your labor will actually get you acknowledged in certain places in society. And then on the other note, salute to all the Moors who put in the work for putting their position on the record and making their status known. When other Moors do catch situations, they already know. Leave that one alone. I already know because I tell you, I had a situation. I'll say 6+ years ago, and I was putting in my wrist, and I was always taught never call your adversary on the phone or any court or any of that. You do everything in the flesh or in writing, and you hardly want to deal with them in the flesh. Everything is in writing. But because of the distance of the place, I had to make a call. I couldn't just go up there. And I made the call, and I'm assuming she's Italian. I'm not going to say her name because she told me straight up. She was like, oh, nah, there's no indictment. You know what I'm saying? Ask your colleagues about me. I didn't really even know no other Moors up there. But she seen the L, and she seen what my position was, and she already knew. You understand? Like, I could have I would have beat it, but I'm just saying that they didn't even take it there because they already knew what time it was based off of other Moors putting in work. And it didn't have anything to do with finance. It was work. You understand?
Yeah.
That laid the foundation. And why can I give thanks? Because these are the same Moors that study from what we taught.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? From the sources that we've been given.
Yep.
And I already know that. I mean, so the work isn't just punching the clock. Put in the work because there's people coming behind you and you have to lay it out. You know what I'm saying? So I say that to say, yo, the work isn't always, and freedom isn't always about a price or a lack of a price or there being no price. It's deeper than that. And I'm sorry, when you said that, it triggered that thought because it's real. So, you know, speaking on work, acknowledgement to the Moors who know what the work is, you know what I mean, and have been putting it in. As we was told, there's enough work for all of us to do. And it has nothing to do with just punching the clock. Because as you said, it's about the spiritual veil. You understand? And Allah will reward you for putting in that type of work.
Right.
Because what does it say in the Holy Quran? We've for those who resist faith, we have prepared a punishment that steeps them in contempt. That sounds like court to me. You understand? So you can't resist the faith, because if you do that, now you become contemptuous, not just in a quote unquote court of law, a court of equity, in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of Allah or all law. So yeah, bro, I apologize. I didn't want to cut your wisdom, but you took me there when you said that. And
you're good.
Yeah, so to that, being free and living within the principles of freedom has nothing to do with the price tag.
Right.
It really doesn't. That's the point I want to emphasize. Islam.
So we'll continue on. For if one's daily work, whether one's profession or household, does not constitute an obstacle to the spiritual path, this implies that it should play the role of a positive element in it, or more precisely, the role of a secondary support for the realization of the divine within us. Right, so whether it's profession or housework, your daily work should constitute some type of spiritual path obstacle. And if that's not there, you should find some type of positive role in that quote unquote profession or housework, which will allow you to realize the divine within yourself. This is just from working. So we'll put it in context, like when my we were talking about the whole thing with the jobs. My my third job was delivery for this computer spot. And they would have, you know, the towers, and it's all commercial. So, you know, the super towers, monitors, you know, whatever, anything that would be considered computer technology or whatever. So we'd have to deliver, you know, somebody set up whatever, and they got 20 monitors. We're the guys. So me and this other brother that I used to work with, what we used to do was, like we're saying, finding something to make the job be something. We started making the deliveries the workout. So if we had, let's say we had 20 monitors to deliver, half of those we're taking stairs, just because. If we're going to be lifting these heavy stuff, we might as well get something out of it. You know, and then that time we were playing ball and all that. So that was just part of, you know, keeping yourself in shape. Run the stairs with the damn monitor. Couple monitors dropped or whatever, but, you know, they had the little protective corner or whatever. So we ain't worried about that. You know, but what they're saying, you know, just taking that, you know, profession. Like if you're profession is dishwasher. I shouldn't be at your house and you got stuff piled up. You should be a master dishwasher. If you're a dishwasher for somebody else's corporation or whatever, then you should transfer that skill to your house.
That's another thing it teaches you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? If you're working for some whoever and you do carpentry, I shouldn't come to your house and see stuff hanging off, doors hanging off and stuff squeaking and whatever like that, because you know what I mean? If it was up to this European or whatever, you'll do the stuff for them spick and span. Then when it comes to your stuff, all stuff's all shabby. You know?
Right.
Because you haven't looked at the quote unquote work as getting positive elements out of it for your life. You know what I mean? Like, I remember, for example, like I was even talking to this sister about this sister who I know, that because this sister was so beautiful, she made me go to work.
Right.
Just because she was there. Work was a breeze. Like,
right.
It didn't even matter. You know what I mean? We have our little tea in the morning, have our convo, you know what I mean? That'll push me into lunch, and then we go to lunch, have whatever, two days over. You know what I mean? Making something out of it, you know? Because there is a realization of the divine in everything if you're open to that. You know what I mean? The dude shoveling shit, there's some type of divine whatever for him there. You know?
Yo, say that. One the mothers in the community of the village that I was coming up in, you know, we used to say, you know, and she was hard nosed. Now she's one of the most humblest women you will ever meet or talk to in life. But when we was up, she was hard nosed. I mean, she had to deal with 3 boys and a lot of daughters. So she ain't take nothing. She ain't take no shit. Excuse my expression. And we've seen her go in on brothers. She done crack brothers in the head, behind the ear with baseball bats and all of that shit. And ain't nobody say or do nothing or try to retaliate because we just knew who she was. You understand? But that being a case when you said the person shoveling shit, she used to be a janitor. I mean, when we called her a janitor, she would spaz on us and say, I'm not a janitor, I'm a custodian. I'm not a janitor, I'm a custodian. I'm not a janitor, I'm a custodian. You understand? And the janitors was up under her watch. So I just wanted to say, when you said that, it just reminded me of something in my real life where, you know, we would be like, oh yeah, well, janitors, they cleaned up and they shovel the shit and all of that. But some of them will tell you like, no. I run a crew who does that, but I'm a custodian. I'm not a janitor. I just wanted to add that on more. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom again, but we just building, and that reminded me of her. Shout out to her. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say her name or appellation, but definitely shout out to her for certain. Because we look at it like, oh, well, they mop floors and they ain't doing nothing and they just mop floors, but nah. They serve a purpose too, because their contribution to uplifting fallen humanity was deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? These was mothers in the community who kept shit in order.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I salute that. You know what I mean?
Straight.
Indeed.
One can sanctify or offer to God any normal activity necessitated by the requirements of life itself, but not just any pastime lacking a sufficient reason or having a reprehensible character. This amounts to saying that any necessary activity possesses a character that predisposes it to conveying the spirit. All necessary activities, in fact, have a certain universality which renders them eminently symbolic. All necessary activity. Right? So like we're talking about, the people who are making videos to try to prove some pointless point is lacking a sufficient reason for doing what it is that they're doing, or for engaging in that pastime. Because that activity is symbolic of the person presenting it. Right?
Exactly.
So
and doesn't.
No, so I was gonna say, so you have situations where, you know, you have somebody on a job and the guy who's getting paid the big bucks is a dick and nobody likes him, but he's getting paid the big bucks. He's not really happy at work, even though he's getting paid the big bucks. Because that universality, that universal symbolism of, you know, what goes around comes back around, it doesn't equate to the paycheck. Because now he has to deal with people's energy on him because of that person exuding a certain vibration that, you know, just doesn't resonate. So there's gonna be always imbalances. You know, so all these things are things that Moors have to look at in them taking this possession of their birthright and using it. You know, because like we were saying, there's Moors we know that have a job, but they put down their nationality card and got it. You know? And then they're not looking at it, oh, we got a 9 to 5 and working for the European, and no, they have a certain skill. This person willing to pay them for it, so they're gonna do what they do. It's not like they're getting taxed or anything like that. So what's the issue?
Exactly.
Well, I went and I tried to do that, and then that didn't work or whatever. Because again, there's the obstacle that you're supposed to be able to overcome, which is supposed to give you some spiritual enlightenment. Because there's always a spiritual prize when overcoming physical obstacles. Always. But if you don't even make an attempt at trying to clear the obstacle, then don't be looking for anything. Don't be looking for, you know, signs and symbols.
Right.
You know, because you cancel them out yourself. It's like what we say, you know, you get out what you put in. If you don't put anything in, don't expect anything.
Exactly.
You know, it's like Drew Ali said, if you don't pay your dues, don't expect to get the benefits, the Moorish honors or whatever. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
Don't expect to get paid when you sat on your ass all day. You know?
Exactly. Contributing absolutely nothing.
Nothing. But always reaping benefits.
It was some.
Go ahead, Moor.
No, it's something you read just a moment ago about industry, and I apologize, I forgot the quote already. I don't recall what you were reading from. Could you cite that again? What you was reading from about industry and work?
Let me just find it again. Be that as it may.
You could just give that reference.
Yeah, be that as it may, there is work and then there is work. There has always been noble agriculture as well as crafts plied at home or in the workshops of the former guilds. And then since the 19th century, there has been industrial servitude in factories, a servitude all the more brutalizing, if not degrading, in that its object is the machine. And the most of the time it offers no proper human satisfaction to the workman. And we're reading from The Spiritual Meaning of Work. Sophia.
Spiritual meaning of work.
Yeah. Sophia Perennis. Perennis.
That's deep. When you read that reminded me of something else, because it mentioned industrial or industry. And just so those, who are listening don't get it twisted. Like when we talk about the Circle 7, like before we even get into chapter 1, you have a preface that says, "Know thyself and thy Father God Allah," by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And right after that, he goes into the first thing after that. It says the industrious acts of the Muslims, meaning that Moors or Muslims got busy. You understand? Because that's what he's opening. Before you even get into chapter 1, this is what he's talking about. Not commerce, not anything. This man said the industrious acts of the Muslims of the Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later years, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day, not before, but this day, these kingdoms are called Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. So these industrious Muslims or Moors, or to be more specific, Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, right? They got dispossessed of their homeland and got busy. And they didn't say, "Oh, the European that took my stuff," and "Oh, woe is me, I'm poor." And like you said, it ain't about being black and in the struggle forever. If you're struggling forever, that means there's some strength somewhere. So it ain't about struggle. It may be about the misapplication of your strength, right? Because if you could struggle with something, that means you have the strength to resist. If you don't have the strength to resist, there is no struggle. You'll be blown over. Like the wind, like, okay, so leaves fall off of the trees. But when the wind blows, the leaves can't resist the force of the wind. They don't have the strength. They're dead leaves at that particular point. Even though they could be fertilizer for something else, there's no strength to resist. Right? So if you're struggling, that means you got some sort of strength, and you should be not overpowered if you're struggling. It ain't that. It's something else. You're being overpowered. You ain't struggling through nothing. Now, if you are struggling, that means that you do have the force. You do have what people perceive to be power to have a resistance. That's struggling. Outside of that, you will be overpowered. But I'm saying that to say that before we even get into chapter 1, Noble Drew Ali is mentioning the industrious acts of the Muslims. Obama told you it was Muslim communities that brought them the pen, the navigational compass, and all of these things that are necessity for any of the European societies or really any society today for navigating this planet. You have to have a magnetic compass. You know what I mean? And then you have to know about the compass that you use in the workshop of the mind as well. These are all the spiritual lessons to really understand, So I say that to say that it's not technically about commerce, it's about being industrious. and you do the knowledge on the difference. You understand? But that's really what it is. It's industry. And if that, without that, even with you saying, oh, well, the Europeans came and, you know, they pillaged and ravished and raped so-called Africa and all of this. Okay, what did you do after that? So don't blame your struggle on that, because the Muslims got busy after that. If he's saying, right, hold up, let me read this again. The industrious acts of the Muslims of the northwest and southwest shores of Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua. Meaning that, okay, all right, so they got one on us, right? This was the beginning of their rise. But what the Moors do on the bounce back, they got industrious. They didn't get commercialized. They didn't go commerce, but they got industrious.
Say that again.
So don't, real talk.
Real
They
talk.
didn't get commercialized. You feel what I'm saying? Like after they got driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua, and then got the well, not blessings, but the permission from the pharaohs of so-called Egypt to settle that portion of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? They didn't get driven out and go poor. They got driven out and got industrious, not commercialist, not commercialized, not none of that. These Moors bounced back in industry. So don't blame your quote-unquote struggle or being poor on this European. That's not the case. Or at least from what I've been taught, you know what I'm saying? At least what we know, you know, when we know how to bounce back. They didn't get driven out of the land of Canaan and say, oh, woe is me. You know what I'm saying? I got to be poor because this pilgrim came to our land, and now, oh, woe is us, and we can't do shit, and we got to be poor black and poor righteous teachers forever. No, homie. Like, they bounced back with industry. These were the industrious acts of those Muslims that are, in fact, Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who today are misnomered Negroes, blacks, and colors, right? I.e., the most recent references we have to these people are Moors. That's a fact. So, no, they weren't slouches. It wasn't that they wasn't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? They knew how to bounce back. That's basically what it is. So they say, okay, you want the land, we still going to know how to get busy to provide services and goods to the lands, because guess what? We got our brethren and sisters over here who still got a house for us. We not hurting. We good. We okay. You know what I'm saying? But we know what we got to do at this particular point in time. So I'm not trying to hear that, you know, oh, because of the European, we can't do nothing and we got to be poor. No, that's not from what I was taught by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That's no reason to get down and out. You know what I'm saying? Because you will hear Negroids who take on the garments of Moors, even though they're Moors by bloodline, it's true. But the attitude and mentality, they're Negroes. You understand? And they'll always say, oh, we need an economic plan, and, you know, we got to have a Moorish village and all of these things. But these people are totally, you know what I'm saying, harmony with the teachers of the bourgeoisie. You know what I mean? They telling you it's about a struggle we got to get out of when our ancestors left the blueprint. Yo, you get driven off the land, this is how you bounce back. Get industrious. Commercialize. Be about it.
You know, even to add this, even to add this on, just exactly what you're saying. Even when you look at Black Wall Street, when they destroyed that, they didn't talk about, oh, the pilgrims, whatever. They went and built a new one. But they don't talk about that, because if they talk about that, then it shows that, you know, the persistence of our people when it comes to their liberation. They don't play lay down and all that stuff, lie down in the street. Our ancestors never played that BS when they went up against these Europeans. They didn't play yield the floor when the Europeans came around. No, they're not gonna talk right now because the Europeans here, they got degrees. We don't got any, so we're not gonna talk or whatever. You know what I mean? Oh, they're KKK, so we're not gonna, you know, stand up for our whatever. We're just gonna cower here in the corner. No, go check Jackson Ward, Richmond, Birmingham, Alabama had a Black Wall Street. Oklahoma had a Black Wall Street on top of the one that was there or whatever. Right? There was places that they're calling Harlem of the South and all that type of stuff. You know what Harlem was. Okay, so if you can go back into your mind to whatever you've seen or studied or researched on the Renaissance of Harlem and the position that Asiatics had in Harlem during that time called the Renaissance there. Put that in the South with Klansmen and whatever. Think these people cared about some Klansmen, some crackers or whatever? Crackers were some threat to them? They had what Black Wall Street after they bombed Black Wall Street. There was other ones after that. How come you don't know? How come you only know about the Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Black Wall Street? That's it. Oh yeah, they destroyed the black, and then no different than when. Let's look at Black Wall Street as Moors in Grenada. They conquered the Moors, then they got the stronghold. Where'd all those Moors go? Well, after they destroyed Black Wall Street, where'd they go? Those people just walked into the desert and died or whatever? Right?
Right.
They got industrial again, as Moors would do. They didn't sit back complaining for too long like the people today. They maybe had about 2 days of complaining and crying or whatever like that. After that, hey, time to get back to work and build another one of these. Sitting on here groveling about some European did something freaking 500 years. You still crying about some European did something. You didn't do anything yet about your situation?
Facts, bro.
Please.
Facts. Hey.
Please. You know. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there when you were talking about are people throwing in the towel on stuff.
Yeah, man. Because again, it goes back to their lack of knowledge of who their foremothers and forefathers are. You know what I'm saying? Like, even when you look at the whole housing crash that happened in this century, is based off of the Gregorian time block or whatnot. We refer to it the 21st century, 2008. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are like, they've had blows, they've taken blows from that. But it's like, yo, if you need a blueprint on how to get out of that, look at what your ancestors did. You know what I'm saying? But then this goes into knowing Moorish science. Not even that, just that. Moorish history, Muslim history. Because they bounced back and created kingdoms after they got driven out of a certain land. For whatever reason, that's another history lesson. But they didn't stop there. They was like, all right, we got to bounce back. Y'all want to take this from us? Watch this. You know what I'm saying? Now we got kingdoms, quote unquote, plural. That's what it was referred to. Mm-hmm. And this goes back to the fact that the history of Morocco really is over here. We can do a timeline on this. Do the timeline of when the Hammatites, Moabites, Canaanites got driven out of the land of Canaan, you know what I'm saying, and bounced back, got industrious and created so-called kingdoms, meaning that they was Moors, right? These Moors, the lineal descendants of Moabites, Hammatites, Canaanites, later created kingdoms. So the so-called kingdom is secondary to the people. So don't talk to me about, Moors are from Morocco, the kingdom over there. No, Moabites, Moors, etc., you know what I'm saying, existed before the so-called kingdoms, or what people refer to today as modern-day states. were established. The people came before all of this. You know what I'm saying? Because it was people who established it. It had to be. Now, the land itself was manifested and created by the Most High, of which we are giving thanks in these seasons for the harvest season, because the earth is a magical place, if you will. If you will. You know what I'm saying? It is it's not a deceptive type of magic where, you know, they be like, oh, where this card come? Oh, right out my sleeve type of thing. No, like I'm talking about that divine magic. You know, we're talking about numbers. We're talking about processes. We're talking about nature. You understand? It's a difference. So these Europeans who are still working, quote unquote, magic based off of your science, right? And they call themselves magi's, magistrates. But think about it. Even the three wise men had a magi, and the magi was a Moor. This is documented in the Standard Dictionary of Facts. Specifically, it says one of the three wise men were Moors. Like, that's the language used. This is in the Standard Dictionary of Facts. And if you could get your hands not on a digital copy, but a real old copy, the cover is so sensitive, it could peel off on you. That's how sensitive those books were and had to be well kept. You understand? So understand that even the writing and messages are science. It's a science behind it. Noble Ali was a master. You understand? He didn't say the commercial acts of the Muslims. This man said the industrious acts of the Muslims of the northwest and southwest shores of Africa. So, or northwest and southwest Africa. So come on, you know what I mean? Listen to what he's saying, and then compare it to what you think you know. And I'm not saying that, you know what I mean? Noble Ali was the beginning and end of everything. This man just brought you back information that will help get you back to the ancient state of your foremothers and forefathers. Why go back to the ancient state of your foremothers and forefathers? Because for your foremothers and forefathers, ancient state of mind, they were no type of slouches. Not at all. You know what I mean? Even when they was reigning over the land in peace and harmony, they was still getting busy. They was getting busy back then, making sure that the land was taken care of and producing abundantly. And that energy had nothing to do with being quote unquote slaves or Slavics. You look at today, Moors don't want to be on no land. And when I say Moors, I'm talking about Moors for the most part who have been denationalized and given the story of Negro, black, or colored person. I'm talking about those who have no knowledge itself automatically equate working land with being slaves, and that was strategic as well, because working the land is for free people. It wasn't for slaves. Slaves had to be taught how to work the land. You understand? Because they didn't know. They didn't know the science of the number 9. They did not know about the science of the zodiac, astrology, the seasons, i.e. the circle 7, or i.e. the circle 7 with the 4 gates on the cover of your Holy Quran. They had no knowledge of that. You understand? We had to teach them that through language, which is why you see them utilize that sacred science with a compass, a square, and a G in the middle of the compass and the square, centered, because why? G is the 7th letter of the Aleph Bet, or what we call the alphabet. You understand? So the beginning and the end, it's all about the word, and the word is God. So we taught them the science of the 7 through what is called today Masonry. But understand that we were the free Masons. They were the free and are the free and accepted Masons. There's a very big difference. And anybody, well, I can't say anybody, but if you're not arrogant in your position and you know a little something, and you talk to what you generally call a Mason, they will build with you on those degrees. Or they may not, based off of your arrogance. You understand? Thinking you know more than they do, about this, and you may. But trust me, they know shit you don't know about your own science. They know that the floor plan, the blueprint of Solomon's temple in the northeast corner is the Moor's gate or the Moor's room. You understand? Like, this is not they know about Moors. It's what it is. So they know that circle 7, because that compass is for what? To draw a circle around your passions. The square is for what? To square up your conduct. The G is for what? The 7. Why? Because that goes back to the spirituality we was talking about. The 7 Elohim, or what people call, God. You understand? It's based on the 7. So when you see the G in the middle of the compass in the square, that's circle 7. You see the 7 on the Holy Quran with the 4 gates, that's still circle 7. You see the gods and the earth with the 7 in the crescent moon, the star, that's still circle 7. All of those are your sciences and philosophies. Ancient. You understand? So know thyself. And you can only be what you know. You can't be what you don't know. You don't know anything, you're not going to be what you know, because you don't know shit. You understand? And it's not to say that you're retarded, or ignorant, or, you can't learn, but you just don't know. I mean, there's a lot of things I don't know. I'm learning daily. You understand? But it's like, I ain't ignorant to or oblivious to everything either. You understand? So I think the creator for the lineage that I was able to come through to even be able to be privy to this information and for all the critiques. I hear my elders say all the time, it's not about commerce. It's not about commerce. This has nothing to do with commerce. Why doesn't it? You go to Ellis Island, that is one of the things the Europeans came to do, is engage in commerce, create new communities, and convert the native peoples to Christianity. I want no parts of any of that. Not at all. I personally don't. So when it says, the Europeans came to America to create new communities, I mean, I get it. Sometimes you have to develop land, but what about the virgin? What about being on the land? Forget a new, quote unquote, new community. What about those old buildings that were built with brick and are still standing today? Which communities were those? You understand? Like, who built those communities? You understand what I'm saying to you? Like, that comes from a more olden time. There's Moorish buildings that were built out of brick that they covered up with stucco just so you can't perceive with your naked eye that they are actually brick. You go out Pittsburgh, you see buildings that were really built of all brick, now covered up with stucco and all of these things, but the stucco is peeling off, and you can see under what appears to be concrete is all brick. You can see these things. And that's masonry, not no lodge initiated. We're talking about the science of building. We're talking about architecture. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all of these are industries, you understand? But you have to have a certain knowledge to lay out the math to get these things right and exact. There's no room for error when you're building. You ain't building if it's all full of errors. You can't build nothing on faulty foundation. So don't tell me you got faulty foundations but you're building. That's the insufficiency of knowledge. Now, if you're teaching those who don't know in a particular cipher or session, yeah, that is building. That is building. But if it's a bunch of idiots, and when I say idiots, I mean that from the perspective of the definition of idiot in the 4th edition Henry Campbell Black's Law. Those having no knowledge of their nativity. That's the definitive definition, shall I say, of what an idiot is. You have no knowledge of your nativity. You have no knowledge of your ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean you're stupid. You just lack that knowledge. Or it doesn't mean that you're retarded, but you will be classed as an idiot. And these are the things that are dangerous to be classified as by any group of society in these times. Because you must know thyself. You know, and to know thyself is also to know where the hell you came from and who you came from. And without knowledge of that, you know, I don't see how you can be productive in uplifting fallen humanity, because you don't even know yourself. So I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying these are things we have to take into consideration. With that, I yield the floor. More Islam.
Islam, more. I don't know if there was any hands up over there.
No questions at all.
All right.
But I'll say this, Moors, if you're listening and you have any add-ons, questions, comments, I would say press 1 now. If not, you know, we have 27 minutes until the live feed ends. And if there's no questions, comments, concerns, you know, critiques or whatever, we'll probably end. But if not, I mean, if so, we could continue to build as long as we have this time open. Cujo, I'm glad we was able to do this tonight, bro.
Yo, for real.
I'm glad we was able to hands are going.
Yeah, yo, it's for real.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Hands are going up right now.
Yep. Oh, there it goes.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
There it goes.
All right. So got 2 callers with hands up right now. I'm sure as we keep building, it'll unfold. So we went in for an hour and a half. We have another hour and a half left. The live feed on the internet will be down in 26 minutes. So for those who want to call in, the call-in number is 319-527-6751. I'll say that again. The call-in number, because the line is going to go down at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to be a part of the rest of this broadcast, the call-in number is 319-527-6751. 3 is the charm. That call-in number is 319-527-6751. With that being said, we're going to take our first caller of tonight. Caller 214-565. You're live on the air, fam. Thank you for calling in. Are you there?
Islam is on his brother Abdul Malik Shakur Bey.
Islam.
From territory. Islam Mose.
Islam, peace, more. How you doing, bro?
Islam. I'm still standing, my brother. Still in sound. Islam, y'all have a great show tonight, and it's very positive. It's a lot of energy in it. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice also in that message also. Remind me, as the prophet said, what shall we call him? And you know, so often our very journey is fine trouble in selecting the proper name for the Moorish America. Some say Negro, another would brand him race man, still another would call him African American, and then come colored dark, African coon shine, the brethren and your folks. It is indeed a hard matter to find something suitable for the various occasions where a title needs to be used. And that's what you were speaking of. If you don't know who you are, how you are going to inform and relate and tell someone else who they are, and especially if you are not benefiting what our prophet brought to us, which our people would hear on this side of Northwestern Mason, Almara. We are studying, we are finding, we are learning. And those who are manifested, we have seen several organizations back who, when the prophet and our people was here, choose to use the knowledge to try to create another society and put in the same mentality, place of naming as what is going on today. Ignorance is only occupied to those who keep themselves in that state of mind and find a path of growth. As we know, you apply yourself to really find out who you are. You will be awoken and you will learn the truth between falsehood. And I would just like to also say, money doesn't make a man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. Once we learn that and get that in our head and quit trying to come into something to bring something upon us, we must learn who we truly are. And well, we come from who is our foremothers and forefathers, and what great mission of coming into the God of understanding the wealth of all national government, regardless of what it may be that obtain or glorify in a financial state. Without love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, you will be living on the outside as a shell, because reality of truth will not inherit your existence. Islamism, I believe the flow.
There's a lot more.
Islam is
Y'all. When the brother calls in, I know we always doing something right. I haven't heard from the brother in a
little while. It's been a
brother,
while.
It's definitely good to hear from you.
Brother, y'all always doing something right. I've been like the old folks when I'm on this side of the Moor country. They say, you must be under the weather. Yeah, I've been under the weather a little bit, but Allah going back to the old remedies of how our people would use roots and different things to help, and instead of going in a social, physical, scientific way, but coming straight from that which you will place upon to heal and cure the nation. Islamism.
More peace to you and your family for calling in. All right.
Islamism.
Peace. Indeed. That was the noble Abdul Shakur. That being said, we're going to go to our next caller. Our next caller, 252-573. You live on the air. Thank you for calling in. Are you with us, fam?
Yes, I am. This is Amazia Balanle-Il. I'm here near what is considered to be Newport News, Virginia, and I don't really have much to say. I've had the pleasure of listening to you all since coming into the knowledge around about 2008. And I don't often get a chance to listen, but when I do, you all, as well as when on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights when I can go back to the classes, you all are right on point. So as a mother, as mama, I just want to continue to encourage you sons to keep up doing what you're doing, because it is encouragement for us all. And that's all I wanted to say. It's just a breath of fresh air to hear you sons, as well as mothers, speaking on such important issues that are still valid. And I would like to encourage everyone who is listening, who has made that declaration, or if you're even just at that point of making that declaration, to just keep going. Don't quit and don't give up, no matter what they're doing, what they're saying to you, and just continue to be more, because mom is here. We are more going to move. And that's all I wanted to say. Just encouraging, because you all are a breath of fresh air and light and encouragement to those of us who are having to make these moves, especially at this corporation, with very little support for Social Security as we know it to be. So, honest to you, son, keep going, and this shine your light force on to see. So, I yield the floor.
Islam, mother.
Thank you very much.
Islam.
In Africa, we definitely appreciate you for listening and calling in with the encouragement. It's much needed. We definitely appreciate the sisters who do listen and take time to speak the peace, because your voice is more important than anything in these days. But we will take heed, and we're going to keep going. And I feel like we're just getting started, but I highly appreciate your call, sister. We highly appreciate it. Thank you.
Know you, sons. It is an honor. And to your mothers that you represent, I love you all. Thank you so much for sharing the light. Peace.
Islam.
Indeed. That's what it's about.
There was two questions in the chat. I'll just put those to you, and then we'll go from there. The first one was if you could talk a little bit more on.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Yo, Cujo.
Islam.
Hold on. Hey, that was my fault. I accidentally muted for 1 second. The first question was what?
The first question was if you have any more info with regard to the Hunter's Moon, and the second question was how could we get more women into the Moorish movement or into the Moorish nation?
Okay, well, let me start with the first question. The first question is the Hunter's Moon is the second full moon after the autumn equinox. All right, so the first full moon after the autumn equinox is what's called the harvest moon. The full moon after that is called the Hunter's Moon. Right, so if you're dealing with the stations of the sun and the moon, you know that after the equinox, herein is the time to reap the harvest. Why? Because specifically in the northern hemisphere, you know, not too many things are going to manifest abundantly for you to reap. You know what I mean? It's specifically after the equinox. So that would be considered the harvest moon. Everything that you have already put in the work for, harvest right after the equinox. And after that, you would need to get more. So this is what they call the Hunter's Moon for whatever else you may need to get. All right. I'm going to leave it to you to do your research, because I can say the Hunter's Moon and go very deep with that. Because if you look at the symbol of Sagittarius, Sagittarians are also hunters. You understand? Like, this is the season coming into that. I know we still got to go through, Libra, Scorpio, and then Sagittarius. Pardon me if I missed the zodiac sign, but this is all preparatory for that season of Sagittarius, Capricorn, and all of these things. Sagittarius is a hunter. He got the bow and the arrow, half man, half beast. You understand? They use your sciences on multiple things. I'm not supporting drinking, but they use it on everything. If you ever seen the champagne bottle or the liquor bottle of Remy Martin, they have the Sagittarian on there. These are just perspectives I'm giving you, surface. You understand? But do your research. The second question was what again? Can you ask that second question? The second question.
Yeah, the second question was getting more mothers into the Moorish movement. How could we go about promoting to them?
My honest answer to that is there are sisters who are already going to be attracted to the knowledge, but I would say sisters have to answer that question, not me. And that's just being real. All I can say is take care of you and yours, and the women will attract to it. But how to get more sisters, That's a question left to the sisters, honestly, on some real talk. You understand? I would say besides that, I don't know if it's a male or a female asking that specific question, but you know what I'm saying? I would say that if you be yourself and you are what you're teaching, they're going to attract to that. I've seen in these past couple months, I've seen the lowest of fallen humanity. And I mean, sisters, I didn't know the shit was that deep. I really didn't. But from what I've been seeing, I'm seeing that, yeah, the shit is that deep. And it's sisters who are going to have to deal with that. You understand? All we can do is teach and be beacon lights. But I'm telling you, it's some sisters who are knuckleheads as well. And I'm not saying that to disrespect all sisters. I'm saying that off of my experience. Because you can try to tell them and all of this, and they're going to look at you like, excuse my expression, but nigga, please. So certain parts of it ain't left for you to do. You just got to do what you and be what you know. And the sisters will attract. You understand? That's going to happen if you really being what you know. You can't, it's like you asking us as sons of Allah or sons of God or sons of mothers or sons of widows, how do we get more widows? But from my perspective as a son, that's like asking us when we play football, you know, well, how do we get more people on the football team? First off, they got to be interested. Or they cut out to play this. You feel me? Like it's certain things that are left to certain classes or certain people. Like I could teach sisters and build with sisters. I was building with a sister 10 minutes before the show started. You understand? Just off the strength, she had on an Ibri charm on her chain, and we've been in communication over the past couple days. You understand? And you know, all I can do is give her information. So my best thing to say is if you teach a sister, she's going to teach more sisters. That's why I say it's left to a sister. So if you have a woman as a companion, share information with her and let her do what she do amongst her peers, amongst her council. You feel what I'm saying? Because remember, the females have a council. They spoke to you about this in the Circle 7 when it says, you know, don't forget, you know, her counsel is wise. These women ain't stupid. They may misplace energy, but I've met some sisters who are so smart in their deception. You be like, God damn, if you could put all of that energy into doing what's right and exact, you would be awesome. You would be out of this world because they're not stupid. They just some of them just put the energy in the wrong place. So I do say, you know what I'm saying? And I have learned that there's certain things that only sisters can teach sisters. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only certain things that fathers could teach sons. You understand? Or certain conversations that could take place between a father and a son, or a brother and a brother, or older brother and a younger brother, that the younger brother can't have with moms. The younger brother can't have with anybody except his brother, his uncles. You know what I'm saying? There's certain shit you just don't feel comfortable talking about with moms. It's not like y'all are incompatible or any of this. But you know what I mean? You might not want to have your first conversation about, you know, the first time you had sexual intercourse with mom. That's not a story you might want to sit down and talk to her about at the dinner table. It just isn't, you know, it might be uncomfortable. Even though she already knows you're going to do this, the only thing she can tell you is make sure you put a condom on. Don't bring me no babies if you ain't ready. Put a condom. If you ain't ready, don't do it. If you ain't ready, don't do it. If she say no, no means no. If she say no, no means no. If she says no, no means no. But outside of that, you're not going to be, yeah, man, you know, it was like this and that, and it was all good. And there's certain conversations you just, as men and women, it could cross lines. So I say that, yes, we can learn from each other, but know your place. You feel what I'm saying? Sisters will check sisters, and sisters will check brothers. Brothers argue with each other. They ain't really checking nothing, but you know what I'm saying? They'll argue back and forth and try to get their points across. But I say how to get more sisters involved with this is find one. Start with one and try to help uplift her. And don't be controlling. Don't think you own her. Understand this is her knowledge. And when she sees that, and when you see that she sees that, believe they're going to take care of the rest. So it ain't about going out, you know, trying to find a whole bunch of sisters and individually you as a man is going to, you know, train them to be a certain way. No, find one sister who has friends, teach her and let her teach her friends. Why? Because she's going to know how to communicate to them. Just like we as sons, if you ever play sports in your life, you know, there's certain language we speak on the field or football, whatever, you know, certain things a quarterback says to his offensive team that nobody else understands that language. It's just that particular team language. It doesn't mean to segregate or they don't need cheerleaders to support them. It's just that it's certain things you talk about, it ain't for everybody. So I'm not going to go on and on. I don't know if those were sufficient examples, but that's my best advice, if I could give any. Find one, teach one, and watch her teach the rest of those in her clan and in her hive. You know what I'm saying? Because we know the sisters be on their queen thing. So if that's the case, leave it to them to do what they do, and we do what we do, and then, you know, the refinement comes when we can all build together. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll look for certain things, to see certain things. So I'm of that persuasion because like I said, I've seen the lowest of fallen humanity, i.e. the woman, just in the past couple of months. And when you try to give them advice, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They want to do them. They might take it from another woman. I've seen women fight each other and be mad at each other for a whole week. And then the next week, they the best of friends. And you'd be like, what the hell was this? You know what I'm saying? Y'all was just out here. You was mad at her because she had a child on a leash. You know what I'm saying? And you, as a mother, is like, why you got the child on the leash? But you ain't see this little bad nigga in action, meaning he needed to be on the leash. Why? Because he was a European and his nature is cantankerous. Not knocking them, but I've seen this happen. So mothers may be rogue in the way they even come off to each other, and they got to hash it out. Yeah. But I'm saying this best leave that to be worked out between them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to just leave it there. If I'm wrong, somebody check me. Somebody correct me. But I do believe that that is the case. You know what I'm saying? You have to leave it to them. And I'm not downplaying sisters because I know there's sisters who are not like that at all. So I hope my words ain't taken out of context. I'm just saying, you know, some things have to be left to them to do. You know what I mean?
Straight up.
Like you don't say, well, how do we get more lionesses to be to, you know, hunt together? Like they speak a whole nother language you don't even understand. You understand? So as long as you could just communicate it to them and they get the point, they'll make sure the rest of the pack or the tribe or the family or the nation has the point in their cipher, and that's how you begin. Start with your consort. Start with your daughters. Start with your little cousins, your little nieces, or whatever. Speak to them, and they'll have it. And I'm gonna yield the floor there. I've been trying to yield the floor for the longest.
There's a lot more. There should be a hand up right there. But we had somebody in the chat that had some questions, and I told him call in. If there's no hand up, then I guess.
Yeah. No. Call. Oh, we just dropped 2 callers. Just dropped. Okay. All right. So there we go. Caller 404-337. You're live on the air. You with us?
Peace and love, noble Moors. Yes, this is Pocky Bay. I was just calling in because I wanted to make a comment.
Peace, Moor.
Bro.
Yes, peace, man. Okay, so I just want to make a comment and say, or a question rather, and ask, how much of the United States of America for the Republic Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, are these policy enforcers being taught? Because a lot of times it seems like they know of it. They know they took an oath to it, obviously. And I'm sure they've learned something of it. But they seem like they are more founded with these state constitutions. They have a more understanding about that. And, you know, they're more passionate about that. Whether or not, you know, they agree with it, they're not necessarily trying to deal with the so-called supreme law of the land constitution. So I just want to ask y'all, brothers, I listen to y'all a lot, man, and I appreciate everything that you guys do, because, you know, there's going to be people that are at all different points in their lives, and just hearing y'all, whoever else is bringing this information is going to help them a lot. But I just wanted to ask you guys that question, like, how much are they really learning about this supreme law of the land? Because we know there's a constitution that's the supreme law of the land.
Mm-hmm. So, well, let me say this first and foremost, and I do trust, I'm speaking for me and everybody here at the MHHS family. We don't sit in class sessions with them, so we don't know what they're being taught except for what's being publicly released. Outside of that, I would say how much of the law is irrelevant. The reason why is because ignorance of the law is no excuse. It doesn't matter. They know that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and to be ignorant of that law of the land there is no excuse for it. So they can say, well, my trainer taught me this and all of that. Is ignorance of the law is no excuse. Why do I say that? Because you could go to any policy enforcer's records at any city hall, records or whatever, and pull that oath to that Constitution. At that point, ignorance of that is no excuse. That's just a fact. So I don't sit up in meetings with them. I don't know what they're being taught. I can't answer how much of it is being taught, but I do know that if they're not being taught, still ignorance of the law is no excuse. And I yield the floor right there.
Yeah.
Islam.
Hey, so I want to say this if I can, if I'm still connected.
Yeah, man.
You know, because I have had some meetings with the sheriff down here. He's a so-called black sheriff named Victor Hill. And, you know, I'm a Moor down here in the southern region. And, you know, I try and go about things by any means necessary if I have to. So being that he would be the constitutional officer of that so-called county that I was in, you know, I felt confident enough to go in there and speak to him. He knew that any time that I had been in their facility, you know, I was serious about what I was talking about. So, you know, it wasn't like, you know, some type of phony situation, I would say. It was more like, hey, I'm trying to address this issue so I don't have any future issues. And but I hear what you're saying, because outright, they obviously have to know that they are breaching some type of trust of the public or some type of law. They have to know this. But I yield the floor. Thank you, brothers. Peace.
Peace. Well, I mean, if we use I'll use the Moors near Virginia as an example as far as the whole fraud perspective with them. If you look up something called a challenge coin or a challenge medallion, they went to the sheriff. They did what you did. They went to the sheriff and they challenged the constitutional oath of the sheriff. And because of them challenging the constitutional oath of the sheriff gave them a challenge coin. And then the challenge coin is basically...
That's what he gave me.
Yeah, and the challenge coin is basically him. It's like, okay, so...
It was a pen.
Yeah, so
gave me a pen, bro.
Yeah, so how it works is that the challenge coin is basically two people putting down their coin, and the one that has supreme authority is the one that has the authority. So you having that coin is saying that that guy backs you. You know what I mean? So they would have issues with the municipals where they show the challenge coin and municipals leave them alone because they're outside the municipal jurisdiction because they have a challenge coin from the sheriff.
But they didn't do it. They didn't do it. But I got all the affidavits on them throughout that whole process. It wasn't like I went in and talked to them or I was just talking. They're intertwined. There's so many different affidavits that, that's why I thought that what you're talking about, and this is the first time I actually heard of that, Moor. I appreciate you telling me that, letting me know a little bit further what I got myself into with that.
Yeah, because it's not a thing of as we know, having the right to contract. Ain't nothing wrong if you're going to him. If the sheriff is the sharif, then you should probably have some type of conversation with that individual if you're El or Bay or whatever, whether it's through writing or going to his office or whatever. You know what I mean? And like Ms. was saying, say again.
I can't say more. I can't say that, I made him actually arrest me. When they put out the warrant for my arrest and everything, I made him actually arrest me. I set something up, and then they told me that, they weren't going to put me on inmate work or anything like that. But throughout the process, being that I intertwined him into that, I was the only person in their facility that got out with, way ahead of schedule. I wasn't even supposed to be getting out like that. Challenging, especially like that. But also, I want to say, excuse my language. I just cursed before I didn't want to do it like that.
Oh, good one. But that's the whole point of it. That even if they play the game, in the end, you come out with them knowing who it is that you are, and you being able to stick to your position that they were trying to deny you in the first place. Because the interaction is always with colorable people, even if they're claiming the seat of sheriff or whatever. It's probably still some foreigner, from the perspective of them being a U.S. citizen. So they still don't have that authority like that. It's really the authority of the seat, because them being not the real sheriffs, they have to be the sheriffs, which is a limited jurisdiction. It's like what Brother Abdullah Bey was talking about in his book with Moors and Masonry, that all the positions are equal to positions in the Moroccan government. So UDAS is saying that they're, department of whatever, but that actually has origins in our stuff. And again, the thing that we have to continually do is always remember their background of us is more than likely from Negro black colored perspective. Whether we did stuff or didn't do anything, we have to really be ourselves. They have to really see a Moor for real for them to yield. They have to really know that this individual is really about their nationality and birthrights and enforcement of the law for them to yield. because the track record that they've been dealing with is the Negro mentality. And some of these Negroes are conniving or whatever. They want to be Negroes, don't want to be anything else unless they do something wrong as a Negro. Then they're going to pretend to be whoever to not get caught or whatever. You know, very evasive behavior. But we can't be that and expect these people to, you know, uphold certain obligations that they have, because we haven't challenged them enough as Moors.
Yeah.
You know, the time of us challenging them as Negroes outweighs the time of us challenging them as Moors. So we just have, you know, more work to do. You know, you got to get more active in your affairs, because they, you know, like I was telling somebody the other day, like, you know, if I've been Negro for 33 years and then found out about this, and I'm 40 now, you know, like I'm not anywhere really. I'm just on this journey. If I've been a Negro for 30 years, it's gonna take time to erase that Negro from you. This is why you're not supposed to do things premature, because the Negro is gonna jump up and mess everything up. That you be slapping, you be kicking yourself. Said some Negro stuff or did some Negro stuff, but you know you're a Moor. And then you get caught up in some madness. Then you're trying to be a Moor to get out of it, when it was Negro that got into that. Right? You know what I mean? So it's a slippery slope. You know, it's a slippery slope. But yeah, Moor, you have any more questions?
No.
Islam, good to hear from you, Moor.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you too, brother. Peace and love. Bless.
Peace.
Indeed. Peace and love for Happy Day. And yes, sir. Thanks for the call. All right. And I do believe this is our last call. Pardon me, I'm not sure if I took this call already. If I did, just let me know when I call you out. We'll call it 252-573. You're live on the air. Are you with us?
Yes, I took the call already.
Hey, all right. Thank you so much. All right. Indeed. Thank you, sis.
Thank y'all. No, you.
No doubt. Cool. All right. So with that being said, we have no more hands up at this particular point. So is there anything you want to add on in closing, bro? Any announcements? I'll say this. You know, Sisters Standing on Law, MHHS, Sisters Standing on Law, is this Sunday, October 21st, Gregorian calendar, at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can always go back to the archives and check it out on Blog Talk Radio and our good brother Najib L for doing the consistent work of consistently uploading these broadcasts on YouTube to make it easy for the user to stay up on the newest broadcast. And a big salute to that brother for doing that consistently, because, you know, in this age of information is everywhere. So you can check that out. If you can't check it live, either one of those could be the archive source. And this will also be on Canaanland Moor's YouTube page, etc. This broadcast tonight. I do feel as though this was a great broadcast. I know it will touch. It has absolutely, and I'm glad. I'm so thankful that we was able to make this happen together tonight, bro. That's real talk, because it was like I can both be available, but we made it happen, and it was great. It was great as usual. So it's Sunday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look for our sister standing on Law MHHS broadcast. You want to catch it live to get the energy of the day, but if you could go back and check the archives, that's great. Again, we will all be back on next Tuesday as well, the night before the full Hunter's Moon. So I know that's going to be some great energy. I would definitely be on it. I've been missing a couple of Tuesdays. I wasn't hooking in school, y'all. I just needed to. It's just been falling into place like that. But we still here. MHHS, eyes wide open for life as far as I'm concerned. And big acknowledgement to RV Publications, Moor's News, WordPress, Canaanland Moors. Definitely stay tuned to Mantis Views 29. And I can't wait for the time to make some announcements on our new arrangement and situation. But again, I'm going to leave that to my mother. But in due time, there will be some great announcements made, and we're going to make some things happen in the flesh. I know that for a fact. We will be having something in the flesh, Cujo, and we're going to get you out here. That's a fact. So I say that to say, Islam, peace and love to all Moors. Noble Moors, not the dirty Moors who slander and then see the elders in the flesh and act like, I shunned the new found respect for this elder or that elder or whatever. All it shows us is the lesson Noble Dry left, which is the insufficiency of your knowledge. How dare you judge somebody you never met in the flesh? Y'all are crazy. Y'all are crazy. And when you meet them in the flesh, all of a sudden everything is different. Right. Shut your mouth until you sit down and talk to these people you claim you have a discrepancy with. Until then, you know what I mean? Just be easy. Be easy, because you're talking crazy and you know nothing of the people that you speak about. And then when you meet them in the flesh, you come to a realization that, I have a newfound respect because I met this person in the flesh. And that's what we've been saying the whole time. You don't know nobody to be speaking on anything. You niggas are surface. Excuse my shit. But I mean, in the etymological sense of that word, not as a group of people. I'm talking about the mentality. You understand? So that being the case, salute to all noble Moors, honorable Moors. Those of you who are slandering the insufficiency of knowledge, because people think they got knowledge, but what about the insufficiency of knowledge? That's a chapter right out of the Circle 7. That's a topic or a subject that we did it for days, because people think they know this and know that, and the knowledge is insufficient. You understand? So you have knowledge, you have wisdom, and then you have what's called understanding or understanding or overstanding. There's a difference. You understand? So be what you know, so you can know that a certain animal is deadly, but the wisdom would be to avoid putting yourself in a situation to be attacked, meaning that if you know a cobra packs venom, and if it sting you or bite you, then, your life is threatened, right? So if you know that, it would be wise to stay away from that unless you have enough knowledge and timing to get those types of things. But who wants to do that? So I say that don't let people, just because they're professing to know something or know a little bit about this or a little bit about that, then it's all cool. But don't forget there's a such thing as insufficiency of knowledge. These are one of the lessons that Noble Dry taught to Moors, Moorish Americans, i.e. Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, i.e. the Asiatics of America who are of Moorish descent. These are the people specifically He said this specifically. The Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent were branded Negro, black, color. Why? Because they honor not the principles of their mothers and fathers and straight after the gods of Europe of whom they knew nothing. So, let's put that in perspective. The Asiatics of America who are of Moorish descent are the ones who are branded Negro, black, and color present day. So, peace to the Moors, peace to everybody, you know what I mean? Tranquility. And with that being said, Moore, I yield the floor. Big thanks to you.
There's a lot more. Peace and love to you, yo. And also too, tomorrow night, I believe 8 p.m. we'll be right here on with Searching for More. He had some questions and stuff that came up relative to new Moors with questions. So 8 o'clock tomorrow, Canaanland Moors will be here for an hour and a half or so, building with the good brother Nehesu and the Searching for More family. So stay in tune for that. And don't forget Sunday, 1 p.m., Canaanland Moors Sunday class right here on Canaanland Moors YouTube page, as well at the Moorish Science Temple of America, 2530 Eglinton Avenue West, near Canaanland. Islam, Moor, you the floor. And peace and love to all the Moors.
Indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. That said, we're going to go out, and we thank everybody for tuning in, and we will be back in tune ASAP. Sunday, you got a pack. We got a pack week. I know you do it every Sunday, so you have it both ways. The Canaanland Moors live feed, and you also have the Sisters Standing on Law, and we'll be right back on it again all together at the same time this upcoming Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on MHHS Eyes Wide Open Blog Talk. With that being said, we're going to close out, and I thank every listener, every caller, and those who will listen to this in the future. Thank you all, and I trust that we have contributed again some information to uplift fallen humanity. So that being said, peace to y'all. Life, light, love, and keep shining, Moors. Thanks again, brother. I appreciate this whole session.
There's a lot more. Appreciate you.
No question. Wise.